All right, hello and welcome everyone to Weekend Rental. This is episode 35. We are everyone's favorite gaming and geek culture podcast. So settle into that saddle, order yourselves a deluxe bath, sit back and relax. My name is Ryan. I'm joined by Andy.
Hey.
And Nate.
What's going on, guys?
Fellas, we're on the other side of our Red Dead 2 marathon. How are we all doing?
That was a solid intro. Solid intro.
I worked on that a little bit, I'm not going to lie. Plus, I haven't stopped thinking about deluxe baths since then, so it's been kind of difficult.
I mean, I stand in the shower every morning just hoping that I can tell someone to scrub my right arm, left
You make
arm.
a mini game out of it?
Yeah.
I yell at my wife across the whole house to get in there and then just point at my arm when she gets in there.
I mean, for 75 cents, you
Yeah.
gotta do that.
You gotta do it. Yeah, it's just a given. Right, it's financially
gosh.
sound.
Plus you get a undercoating, right? With the deluxe?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. It's part of it. It wouldn't be deluxe without it. That's a fact. Let's move into our opening segment, Buy, Rent, Burn. Basically, recurring segment of the podcast. We pick a game for a given system. Each of us do. This episode is the NES. And the games we've picked, we basically play them all. We all decide which one we would buy, rent, or burn. And this week's picks, Andy has gone with Swamp Thing. Nate has gone with Squoon, which I just feel like you have to say it like that. And I've gone with Kabuki Quantum Fighter. So let's go back up to the top. We're going to hear a little bit about all of these games. We're going to start off with Andy's pick, Swamp Thing for the NES. This has an absurdly long description, but here we go. Part man, part monster, defender of the earth. Dr. Alec Holland, once a brilliant biochemist, has been transformed into a gigantic creature known as Swamp Thing. His biorestorative formula saved him from the explosion and leveled his Bayou research lab. Only now his archenemy, Dr. Anton Arcane, wants to capture him and unlock his secrets of the Green Guardian. Join Swamp Thing on his mission to stop the powerful forces of Arcane from conquering the world. Dodge mechanical beasts and deadly traps as you make your way to the hidden layers of the Unmen, not Onion. Battle these genetically altered henchmen from Dr. Anton Arcane in nonstop fighting frenzy. Can you stop Arcane from discovering the lost biorestorative formula before it's too late?
That game sounds way more exciting than the one I played.
It really does.
Ugh. What an awful game.
Yeah, this one's bad.
On a system full of quality platformers, this thing does not step off on the right foot.
No.
Let's start with this
not.
question. How many got past the first level?
Why would I bother?
No.
Nope.
Okay, good. All right. We're all on the same page then. Terrible.
It's a side-scrolling platformer, and he is incredibly slow. He's really bad at jumping. His punch is terrible.
No reach. The worst reach.
And even like when you crouch down and try and punch, he just stands up and punches then. And it's like, what's the point of the crouch then?
Yeah.
Every time I tried to crouch, I got hit by anything anyway. I don't think I ever dodged anything by crouching. So
within the first 3 feet of the level, you're introduced to your first enemy that you cannot kill. And that is a huge problem in a platforming game.
Yeah, that is true. But you do get to get in the swamp like right away. That's kind of nice. If you are the Swamp Thing.
And visually, it's not unappealing. Like, it very much captures Swamp Thing and like the animated show sort of vibe. And I mean, obviously this had live action. It's just, it breaks every fundamental rule of a quality platformer from the get-go.
Yeah, it looks awesome. Even just the opening screen looks amazing. But then, as soon as you press start, you're in for it. I think it's a bad sign if a game opens up with, so if you just walk to the left, you could get some extra life or something like that. So when a game opens up with that, I think it's setting a tone for this is going to be awful.
Yeah, it's something else. I was kind of unaware of like the whole Swamp Thing resurgence at that point. You said there was a cartoon, right? And
Yeah, I think there's a cartoon. There's also like a show on USA, like a live action one that was.
really,
I remember
okay.
not being good, but I remember them both vividly.
Yeah, so I like completely did not know anything about that, and I'm just like, wow, Swamp Thing in early 90s, like what? You know, I thought that was like an old like 70s thing.
Yeah, they definitely pushed to bring it back. It did not work, obviously, but
This was a game I never heard of as a kid. Never grabbed it. I mean, it is now. It's pretty spicy. Or spicy. It's pretty pricey. It's pretty
it's a
spicy.
spicy meatball.
It's a spicy Swamp Thing. It's pretty pricey, but it, for what reason, I have no idea. It's an awful, awful game. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I think where I got like really pissed was like if you progressed a little ways in that first level, you get to like that platform with the house where just a dagger appears out of nowhere and just starts flying to kill you. I was like, this makes no sense within the context of this universe.
And that sword is huge.
I don't want to see the rest. Right. It's so stupid.
It doesn't even tie in with the size of anything.
No.
And the first house that you get to, nothing happens. Everything's fine. As soon as you get to that second house, these knives are flying that are 4 inches bigger than you.
Mm-hmm. And you do get like that like sludge or like pee power up thing, but again, it is just as bad as punching because like the arc on it makes it worthless.
Yeah,
like I don't get it
exactly.
Yeah, you can't do anything with it, and it's one of those. Yeah, you crouch down, punch, and you don't hit anything because everything's lower than your punch, and everything's above your punch when you're standing up. It just you're defenseless.
And they could have fixed it because like it was a game built on a life bar that lasted for all of 3 hits, but they could have made that life bar last for like 20 hits.
Oh yeah.
And this still would have been a shitty but enjoyable game, but instead they chose to make it a shitty, painful game. And that's what sucks.
It's got the funniest jump I've ever seen though. When he the animation when he jumps, he looks like he's Spider-Man instead of Swamp Thing. You know?
Yeah.
It's not, it just is not well equipped to be a platformer at all. And
Right.
it just does everything about it just feels off.
On a system full of much better platformers. Yeah, it's brutal. All right, let's move on to Squoon. This is Nate's pick. Description on this one: SOS, the world is sinking. This is the beginning of the Neptunian invasion of Earth. Humans are becoming food for aliens. You must rescue the people and bring them to safety. Destroy the hot water factories, which are melting the ice caps. Destroy the biofactories, which create scary prime, anchos, and more. Okay. Destroy the base where hateful Neptunians live. You must rescue the Earth. SOS, SOS, the world is sinking. A Neptunian invasion has begun.
Now that's a freaking intro right there. That's awesome. So this is a, I guess you would say a horizontal shooter, but not a traditional shooter, because you're in a,
or a good one.
Well, wait a second. You're in a submarine, which makes it pretty awesome. They, I mean, most NES shooters, you're a plane, and that's about it. So anytime you're doing something a little bit different, and for it being an early NES game, I thought it's pretty decent. Ryan, your thoughts?
I mean, it feels like an early NES game. It feels very arcade heavy. Visually, it's very plain. Sound, I would say, is better than most, given the era. I would just say that it doesn't control particularly well, and a good shooter will have enemy patterns that are reliable, predictable, and allow you to like learn and progress. And these are sporadic, shitty, and your firing rate sucks. So I just kind of almost immediately found it a chore and like tedium. I don't hate it. It's a very good arcade feeling game. I know this game like has some notoriety because it's more expensive than most on the NES, but I don't know that it deserves that price. Like, in fact, I don't think it does. I got pretty bored with it pretty quick.
No, I agree. It's not worth the money at all, and it's not a great game, a unique game, and it's hard as balls. It is so hard. You cannot get through. I couldn't get through the first level. There was so much going on and just random things flying at you.
Well, the rules are kind of obtuse too. I had to like look up how you get fuel. Like I didn't understand how to do that.
Yeah, that was a challenge.
That sucks. That really sucks. Especially as you're progressing, you can't find it, can't get it. I was struggling getting it. And,
yeah.
And you save the little guys in the I guess the bases that you blow up, and these like stick figures like shoot up from
dude.
And
when the white stick figure like hooks onto the orca and like latches on for a ride, that is like the cutest shit I've ever seen on the NES. I'm not gonna lie, it kind of melted my heart a little bit.
That is pretty cool. Like, are you not supposed to shoot those or not? I was very confused by that part.
Supposed to kill the orca. I think you're supposed to release the men.
I killed everything.
I did too. I tried
to kill the orca. It's all coming at me. It's dying.
It's collateral damage, though. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's like you said about the patterns. That's what really messed me up. Where you know most shooters are very consistent. You see the same movement as soon as they get on screen on most shooters. Where this changes it up. And that's tough. Well, that's Castlevania shit.
I think like when you look at who published this too, like this is the same group that published Chubby Cherub, which I think is very similar in the fact that it isn't really designed in a way that makes it a fair game. Like it makes it more an effort in avoidance and frustration than the game should be, but I don't hate it. I think it like you said, it feels like a very good arcade at the time shooter. And it is unique in the fact that you're in the water, because like you said, most of those were ships or airplanes.
Unless you're playing Gunsmoke.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. God, what a great
Now that's a sweet game.
Yeah, it is. I think like I would have enjoyed this more had I had a Advantage controller and turbo. I think it's a little tough without that.
I didn't even think about using that. I should have.
It's got a cool name. I mean, at least it's got that.
Scoon. Yeah, for an early game, I think it's decent. Sounds good. Looks okay. Difficult game, but
for sure. So let's move on to my pick, Kabuki Quantum Fighter. Description, the setting, Earth, the future. The defense computer protecting the entire planet has been invaded by a constantly mutating, evolving virus. One lone volunteer has the courage to face the virus on its own ground. Converted to raw data and transformed into the circuits of a computer, the molecular structure of this brave warrior is transformed by the as yet untested image transfer system. Into the circuits, the computer steps an unlikely hero, the Quantum Fighter, which I feel like that ties into Quantum Leap. 6 levels of challenging action, unequaled game control, and surprising arsenal of weapons. So I think this game is like it's an action platformer, I guess. It has some of the worst cover art on the NES, which is probably why a lot of people haven't heard about it. It isn't overly expensive, and besides the fact that you look like a troll doll killing things with your hair, this more or less plays like a cybernetic version of, I would say, the original Batman on the NES is the closest comparison. You know, the music's fine, the visuals are fine, the enemies, you have to take your time and not get your hits. You know, for a game that doesn't get a lot of talk, I would say it's a pretty solid action platformer. It's hard, as a lot of things are on the NES, but I was surprised by this. When I picked this, I just picked it up. I had not played it as of yet, so I kind of got introduced to it for this episode of the podcast, and you know, it's I would say maybe it's a hidden gem. I don't know, depending on what your game type is on the NES.
I would absolutely call it that. Yeah. The I was amazed by the presentation and the story at the beginning.
Yes.
I mean, that's really impressive how they pulled all that off.
The animation
And the
is
fact
awesome.
Right. And the fact that that story is basically Assassin's Creed story,
Yeah.
which is kind of hilarious. And yeah, just going around whipping things with your hair. It's like heavy metal banging your head with that. The only thing that I really, really disliked about this was your attack changed when you knelt down. When you crouched, you only had a small punch compared to your hair, and that made the game a whole lot harder because a lot of those enemies I would prefer to just crouch down and whip my hair at them.
Sure.
This reminds me of an early Matrix movie. You know how they are laying in the bed and they have to go into the Matrix. This game, I've loved this game for quite a few years. This has been one of my favorite games, probably top 20 games for my NES that I love playing. So I was excited that you called it out, which when we put a buy, rent, burn on it really isn't fair because it's such a sweet game and kind of nostalgic for me. And yeah, it sounds awesome. The music is amazing in it, and it's colorful. It looks great.
So were you aware of this game as a kid then, Nate?
I was not quite a kid. I was probably like 12 or 13, and
Well,
I
think it qualifies as kid.
Well, I mean, I wasn't like 6 or 7 or something like that when I really had a hold on the NES. So I believe my cousin had this game, if I'm not mistaken, and that's kind of where I was introduced. We could never get past the first level, but it's a really, really fun game. Very difficult game. There's a lot of the conveyor belts and current water, which makes things very difficult. And as you get further in, you have those tied in with like flame throwers and stuff like that. It makes it so difficult, but I think it's a pretty rewarding game.
Yeah, that's interesting because like I had never heard of this until I was an adult. And like I mean, for good reason, right? Like you would never have rented this looking at the cover in a video rental store. Looks awful, but yeah, it's like a really quirky. I mean, just given the setting, like the stuff they do with enemy design and like decapitated heads, and it's very trippy. Like really kind of ahead of its time for other NES games.
Yep.
I really liked it. I was pleasantly surprised.
Good.
I know I played this way back in the day, like the early days of emulation, and I picked it because of the name. I was like, wow, that's a weird name. I'm gonna try that out, and I kind of got hooked on it. But yeah, just like the movement of like grabbing onto things and like doing like a roll, to jump up, and then jumping on the thing you're hanging down from. That's pretty cool. Yeah, more Batman Ninja Gaiden kind of stuff. Pretty sweet.
And you have to use that strategically, what you're hanging on. If it's like a flat platform, you have to flip up on top of it sometimes, you have to be pretty strategic on how you use that.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's time we make our picks. Andy, let's go back up to the top and start with you.
Yeah, my buy is going to be Kabuki Quantum Fighter because that blew me away. That beginning part, like I think that does it better than Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden gets all the credit for their cutscenes and stuff like that, and for an NES game, and I think this did way better than that. Plus, I like the game more than Ninja Gaiden as well.
Ooh, nice.
And my rent is going to be Scoon because it's not Swamp Thing. Overall, it's not a bad shooter. Like, it's not one that I'm going to get really serious about and really go, try to, go for points or anything like that. It's one that you're going to play for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you're like, okay, that's fun enough. Pretty basic overall, and my My burn is going to be Swamp Thing. I wonder if that's maybe one of the worst games that we've played.
It's up there
on here. This might be worse than Captain Planet.
Oh boy, those are big words, but
I know.
You maybe aren't wrong.
I guess it's somewhat playable. Captain Planet is still kind of broken. I never ran into anything that was broken in here, but it's just bad design from the get-go.
Nate, how about you?
I think this one's very, very clear. Kabuki Quantum Fighter is definite buy. It's such a good game. I would agree with Andy. It's better than Ninja Gaiden. I love it way more than Ninja Gaiden, and I think it looks better too. So that is definitely by Scoon. Would be my rent. It's not a great game. It's fun for a little while, but definitely one I wouldn't buy. So that's gonna definitely be a rent. And Swamp Thing belongs in the swamp where no one can play it. It's awful. Burn those cartridges.
Yeah, I agree. This one's pretty straightforward. Kabuki Quantum Fighter is really inexpensive. It's a great game. Anyone who collects for the NES or is like mildly interested should pick it up. Really happy to have played that one finally. Scoon is fine. It's a very arcade heavy game of that. It feels almost more like a black box game than anything else, which is fine. I mean, that just means for me, it's a pick up and play game, which fits rental. And Swamp Thing is atrocious. It's, other than its visuals, I mean, it's fundamentally broken in every way. I don't know what that currently goes for. I just know that it's way too much for what this game is. So burn it. But he'd come back because he's a bioengineered psycho scientist guy. I mean, so we really can't kill him. He'll probably resurface. Maybe on the Game Boy. We'll have to see.
Oh no.
Gross.
Dun dun dun. Another buy run burn in the books, fellas. In the books.
Yep.
That one was easy.
It was.
That was way so clear. So clear.
Yep.
I got stuck playing Kabuki. I mean, I don't need to play it. I know what the game is. I've played it lots of. But this morning I sat down and I was like, well, I'm going to just, as I'm drinking coffee, play it. And, an hour and a half, hour 45 minute goes by. And I was like, oh, yeah, I should probably do something else.
Nice.
I just couldn't believe how it is the exact story of Assassin's Creed. Like, get in this bed.
I didn't even realize that until you said it, but that is uncanny.
And like, oh, you're a Kabuki? Well, your great-great-great-grandfather was a Kabuki or something like that. So, yeah, it's like, wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Assassin's Creed writers are like, they've been playing this game. They're like, no one will ever know we took this idea.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
At all.
All right, so let's dive into the meat of the podcast. This episode, I'm going to start things off with a little bit of a game. I want you guys to just kind of guess what I'm going with. What do all these games have in common? I'm gonna list them off here. There's a lot of them, so I'll let you know when I'm done. Jet Moto, Wipeout, Warhawk, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Croc, Tony Hawk, Gran Turismo, Tenchu, Tomba, Klonoa, Need for Speed, Vigilante 8, Gex, Medal of Honor. What do all those games have in common?
I've never played them.
Well, for you, yes.
My guess would be that they are not included on the PlayStation Classic.
That is correct, and they are all games that I can say that most of us who grew up owning that console would say straight away, instantly remind them of classics on the PlayStation.
Yep.
Which, if you're going to put classics on the PlayStation Classic, you're missing quite a few of these. In fact, you're missing all of these.
Yeah, that list is weird.
Yeah, that final list came out and it is just mind-boggling. It's like a mix between like meh, I guess, and these were the first generation games that happened to be on the system.
I'm not a PlayStation guy, and I knew that list was weak. All those games that you listed, I was like, why weren't those on there at all? That doesn't make any sense.
And that's the sad thing is, like, the last time we talked about it, you know, you had mentioned, like, well, I'm not a PlayStation guy, so I'll get this, I'll get my feet wet. I can't recommend to you that you do that with this game list for $100, like, because that is not indicative of the system at all to me. I mean, Cool Borders 2, I get. Twisted Metal, I get, but Twisted Metal 2 is infinitely better. I can't explain why Jet Moto wasn't on here, because it was such a huge game. There's no Tomb Raider. I didn't mention Tomb Raider, but there isn't one.
Yeah, I was surprised by that.
That's a mind blower. They have Mr. Driller, which is a great game, but I associate that with Dreamcast. Rainbow Six is also on there, but I associate that with PC. I get why Tony Hawk and Gran Turismo are on there for licensing reasons. I don't get why they couldn't have included Croc or Spyro. Medieval also, which I know is getting a remaster. Why wasn't Medieval on there? That was a huge series. I just... Need for Speed 3, Hot Pursuit. Like, Jesus. If you were going to do a classics list, it should have been all games that reached greatest hit status. And hardly any of these games
Hardly any of these did, yeah. Like, especially like Persona. Like, that was... Nobody cared about that game at all when that came out. Nobody even knew about that game. It's only because the later editions are much more popular that they did this. And then it's like, well, okay, if you're doing that, then why do you have Battle Arena Toshinden on there, which is like a really bad game?
Yeah.
Now
it was impressive at launch.
Right. But, and that's what they're going for. Like, oh, it's a launch game. Okay. But it's a bad game now to play, and nobody's asking for that game.
Well, the thing is they should be going for, this is the best smattering of like nostalgia and quality gameplay. Because like this is a generation that hasn't held up well to begin with, and they like completely missed the mark. I mean, I know people at work. I had people jabbering me or like messaging me the day after this news came out, like I canceled it. This is ridiculous. I'm like, I don't blame you, because yes, this is a terrible list.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I'm just kind of wondering, like, it just feels like if this was like, you know, those Namco museum games where they made like 5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is that first game, and they plan to make 5 more.
Yeah, and that's kind of
it's like
the only thing that could make sense, right?
Yeah.
And like the biggest thing is like the crown jewel, in my opinion, the game that influenced me the most at the time that it came out and stuck with me, Metal Gear Solid. Like, it is completely and utterly hampered, like missing some of the main like pivotal moments based on the fact that they're releasing this on the system that does not have a DualShock controller, which I argue you need for Metal Gear Solid. So you're not going to have the vibration, and you're not going to have the memory card. And that is like, those are 2 components to one of the most lasting moments in that game, and they're butchering it. They're butchering it completely. No way around it. You cannot replicate that. And then I was thinking back, I was like, what do you do with that sniper shootout? I can't imagine playing that with a D-pad. Remember when you have to shoot that chick and like take those pills? I'm like, I don't know how I would do that. It's broke.
Yeah, that would be... Yeah, I couldn't even imagine playing that game. Yeah, and I wonder, what does Psycho Mantis even do?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, put down your controller. I made it do nothing. Ha ha. Thanks. Great.
It looks like you've been playing other shitty games on this piece of hardware.
I don't know which ones, but they're all bad. Thanks, Psycho Mantis. Yeah. Ugh.
I'd love to know what the science is behind these picks. Like, what caused them to do this?
To be
It
honest,
doesn't make any sense.
I want to say like they were riding high on like the PlayStation brand. They saw that Nintendo had something in the space that was raking in the dough, and they're like, "We're gonna do this. We're not gonna do it proactively enough to really secure anything license-wise that makes a difference." And they got caught with their pants down, and they're like, "Well, we're just putting it out anyway."
We're gonna slap $100 sticker on this thing.
The hard part is all the third parties that they had, like, realized the value of what they have. Whereas, like,
Yeah.
Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, they're all getting remasters. They're all getting remakes. So if they came to you and say, hey, can we put Crash on here? I would be like, no, they can go buy our game, you know?
But I mean, that's all the more reason to like push for those things harder if you're Sony, because it's like, well, see where this came from. You know what I mean? Like the buzz is already there. Like pay out for it. Like honestly, I think this is just a factor of like Sony being stupidly cheap, not paying for licenses, and like completely fumbling this. It's just
plus make
shitty.
it more expensive.
Yes, right. I'm glad I didn't pre-order it. If it's on sale or if I have like a gift card through the holidays, I guess I'll get this. But it's not coming out of the box. That's where I'm at with it.
I believe it's going to be on the discount shelf fairly quick. That's just my prediction. After the holidays, you get around springtime, you'll see them in the bargain bin at Target for $65 or $50. I don't know, half the price.
Well, maybe they'll be smart enough based on like pre-order numbers and like the drop off after the announcement to not produce too many. But that's the only thing that would possibly keep them out of there.
Yeah. Huh.
So let's shift gears. Let's go from Sony to Nintendo. There was another Smash Direct, I guess. Final lineup kind of confirmed. Bonus character. If you're an early adopter, you get a piranha plant, I think through January 31st, which seems like a bizarre inclusion, but we know there's going to be a single player mode. I don't know. I can't remember what it's called. It's not adventure mode. It's called
Spirit mode or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Which I was hoping for because I liked what they did with Brawl. So this seems like a more realized version of that. And just the staggering like lineup of like, I think they said 8 characters from the get-go is all you have unlocked, like your core characters from the original 64 Smash. Like just the insurmountable like list of characters that you have to play to unlock is awesome.
That's insane. Yeah. I absolutely love what they're doing with that single player stuff. They kind of took all those like statues that you collected in all the other games and turned it into like a Pokemon.
Yep.
Like you're collecting them, raising them, all that stuff. It's pretty cool.
The weight is on Kirby's shoulders.
Yeah.
Can he do it? Can he do it?
Yeah, it was weird that he was the lone character who couldn't die.
Isn't he one of the like more powerful or stronger character that a lot of people tend to go with, or is that not true?
No, he's pretty bad.
Is he?
Yep.
He's fun because you can steal everybody's ability.
Right.
Yeah.
But
he's still cumbersome to move around with.
Yeah. I love during that direct the developer guy. He's like, maybe now I can have a break. Did you see that?
Yeah.
He like closed his eyes for like 2 seconds.
What did I see? Like somebody like was on Twitter was like, I think like him murdering every character in the game was catharsis for like the most like unfucking supportive fan base in the history of gaming.
Oh man, I just love how they're rubbing it in their face too, because everybody wants Waluigi, you know, and they're like, oh, it's a Mario character. It's a fucking plant. Here you go.
Waluigi is the most. He's an abomination. Wario resulted out of the fact that they switched the M around. Adding Wa in front of Luigi doesn't make him a thing. I'm sorry, internet.
Yeah, it's dumb.
They should just ban him from all things Nintendo. But
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, I will say like no major surprises, but I am happy with the package that they're presenting. I think this is going to be, the end all be all of Smash games. Really, I mean, this is like we've said before, this is a Nintendo honoring itself and its characters and its legacy, and that's what makes a good Smash game, not so much the depth or lack of depth with the fighting. So I'm beyond excited to add this to my Switch collection.
Yeah, the story mode looks really cool, or spirit mode, or whatever it is called. I wish I knew, but yeah, it looks really cool. I loved that the trailer that they put together where they were killing off all the characters. It just looked so good, to the point where they could make a movie out of it, or a cartoon out of it. It looked that good. That's really where Nintendo should go. Don't make stupid movies like Mario or anything like that.
Good enough to be considered a AAA game by Nate? No?
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
All right, good. We tipped the scales.
I'm
Good
excited
job,
about
Nate.
it.
I'm glad we got you in there.
He wants a Captain N reboot.
Ooh, don't we all? I want a Captain S reboot.
If Captain N came out, oh my gosh.
Why hasn't he been an assist trophy or something? That is a good point.
That would be the best. I love Captain N.
It's so bad it's good.
No, it's not even bad. It
is really bad though. The voices are bad.
Yeah.
I know, like the Kid Icarus, he drove me nuts.
Well, Mega Man is like, he sounds like he smokes 5 packs a day, but
because he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a cartoon I watched as a kid, and actually my son and I watched that quite a few times already.
You have the DVDs or what?
Nope, YouTube.
Nice.
So, and yeah, that should get a comeback for sure.
Well,
just have the whole Smash roster on there.
Well, yeah. Let's talk about that since we're talking about a TV show. I want to talk about a show that's on Netflix that I just picked back up, and that's Castlevania on Netflix. Season 2 just dropped. I didn't even really know it had come out. I caught wind of it on like a tweet, and I here's the thing. I liked the first season. It was like 4 or 5 episodes. It wasn't. It felt more like a teaser than like an actual storyline. So I was a little disappointed with it. I will say season 2, I watched the first episode and then I think I started at like 9:00 at night on like Wednesday of last week, and I binge watched the entire 8 episodes. We got done around 2 a.m. It is so freaking good. I cannot recommend this enough. If you were middling on the first one, the first season, I understand. Season 2 is great. It is a great anime. Great dark humor, great visuals. They died down a little bit on the anti-Christian overtones, which I thought were kind of overbearing in the first part, and it just turned into this really dark comedy. It was great. Have you guys watched it at all?
I watched I've seen the first season, and then I almost made it through the very first episode, but I fell asleep.
Did you get through you get to the part in the first episode where the one chick is talking to the other vampire and says, "You've never met anything you didn't eat, fuck, or make a boat out of." And I was like, that is the best line ever. Yeah. I want that on a t-shirt.
Yep. He's like, "I'm a Viking and I make boats out of a lot of things."
Except he says it with a weird accent. "I'm a Viking, we make boats." I just kind of want to picture the boats that this guy makes because it sounds awesome.
Yeah. I agree that the first season was more setting up the story, because each episode was almost a different tone altogether.
Yeah.
Because they had different characters, it's just Dracula and the churches and stuff, it's very dark, very gruesome, and then you have Trevor where it's oh, he's just a drunk,
Well, and they didn't really let you get to know any of the characters, which was kind of the disappointment to me. It was you should probably have built one of them up more, but I feel like they did that more here in this season.
Well, yeah, you have the 3 of them now that can kind of bond together too. So
yeah.
Yeah,
and then I loved that quote and was in tears in the first episode, and then the second episode you get to an exchange between Trevor and Alucard, where Trevor's like, "Why don't you eat shit and die?" And Alucard's like, "Well, fuck you too." I was like, "Yep, this is the best cartoon ever." Like, I love this. This is so stupid, but so good. So, I highly recommend it. It gets really good. I have always liked the animation in it. I thought it was really well done, and I like that it doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's like very kind of Crash. Sort of refreshing in the way that maybe like Attack on Titan was, in just the absurdity of it. So, highly recommend it. Don't watch it with your kids, but watch it if you like Castlevania and you enjoy, anime. It's a great watch.
The only disappointing part, like, I haven't seen it all, obviously, but it's very much just Dracula. It doesn't go into, like, the Frankenstein, Mummy, like all that stuff. It doesn't have those other guys.
Yeah, that's very true. It's very humans
It's not a
versus...
monster collection.
Yeah, humans versus vampires is kind of
Yep.
what it boils down to. Maybe season 3. We'll see. They kind of left it open at the end, so... And some more exciting news. How much do you guys love the NFL? And how much do you love Fortnite? And how excited would you be if the NFL was working with Fortnite?
Oh, gosh.
I can represent my team.
I mean, I can't imagine news that I care less about, but this is insane that it's happening. You can now purchase NFL jerseys to put on as skins for your Fortnite characters. Or you will be able to.
Give me... Yeah. Here's my credit card. Give me a jersey. I need it.
All of them purchased. Nate's in.
Since I don't even purchase anything on Fortnite anyways. Just play as the stock character. That's what I get.
The sad thing is, like, this will probably rake in millions and millions on this free game, which is insane.
You slap NFL on anything, they're gonna make their money for sure.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, how mainstream Fortnite is to be like, well, NFL in it now too.
Yeah, that's a huge tie-in, right?
Did they say what Fortnite was getting out of the deal?
No, the money. I mean, obviously they'll get like.
Well, I'm sure
they'll get 30% or more of every skin purchased. So.
Wow.
Yeah, it's gonna be nuts.
Yeah, their stock is going crazy.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, it still blows my mind how mainstream that game has gotten. With, celebrities jumping in on Twitch, and I don't know, every kid in school doing the stupid dances, and it has been probably one of the most influential things in the last 2 years in our culture. It's so weird.
Yeah, I don't think a game has like taken over like the casual audience as much since Minecraft, which is kind of crazy, but it also kind of makes sense because it also sort of ties into Minecraft with the building and the FPS craze. But
kind of, yeah.
I mean, that's the only other game I can compare it to that's been on that level with casual gamers.
And I wonder how long it's going to take for Fortnite just to kind of go back in the shadows, and what's going to be the next biggest, greatest thing.
Yeah.
It'll be kind of interesting to know how long will this Fortnite last? Minecraft is still very popular. 2 more weeks.
Well, Minecraft is popular, but it's also like a decade old, which is insane.
Right.
Yeah.
But you also have to pay for that, where Fortnite is insanely popular and it's foreseeably free forever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we could be talking about Fortnite in 2028. I hope we're not.
Mark it on this podcast.
It's probably like a space simulation at that point.
Fortnite in VR.
Yeah. I know one game that was like that way back in the day. That was Tetris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was universally appealing. That's true.
Yeah. And that's my segue into. I played
Oh,
the
you got the
Tetris
demo.
Effect demo.
Nice. I was hoping you were going to do it. How'd you like it?
It's awesome.
And it was a timed exclusive,
so
right?
cool.
Like you
Yeah,
don't have
it's gone
access
now.
to it. Okay, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was only this weekend I could play, and it was only 3 levels, I think. So you play the 3 levels like all in a row, and yeah, it's kind of crazy. There's just
Nice.
like so much around you going on, and the crazy thing is you can move the board around, so you can like put it like right in front of you, so you have to like look up to the top and then look down to the bottom. So it's just gigantic at that point. So that's kind of fun. But yeah, just
It
the
looks
experience.
so good.
Yeah.
It looks so good. The music sounds awesome. I watched a video of the Tetris champ of whatever year. They got him to play this in VR, and he actually was better at that than like the original Tetris, because he was saying that his reaction times were so much faster, which was kind of interesting to watch. I should track that video down and send it to you guys.
Huh.
But
That's interesting, because mine were like slower because I was like dropping them to the beat.
Yeah. He said it took a little while to get used to it, obviously, if you've been playing, 8-bit Tetris forever.
Mm-hmm.
But he caught on really, really quick, and it was pretty impressive where he was doing these giant combos. I can't even remember what they were called, but it looks pretty awesome.
Huh. They had one mode that you could play was called Mystery Mode, and just every 5 lines or so they would just like mess with you. Like they would flip the board upside down, so you had to play it upside down, or they put like a gigantic piece in it.
Nice.
Yeah, it was kind of fun.
So will this be coming indefinitely?
Yeah, it's November 9th. So
November
next week
9th.
I think
Okay.
it comes out. Yeah.
They usually put out demos of games that are never coming out.
Well, I mean, like,
It's happened before.
Are we like talking like
That's true.
a year out or 6 months out? So
Speaking of
that's why I
that,
was
the PT demo is now, they like deleted it from
What?
people's PS4s.
Oh, really? If you had it online, it wiped it out.
Yep.
Ooh.
They uploaded a patch that broke the thing, so you couldn't
So
play it
those
anymore.
like people that have an offline system, like that's now worth thousands.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's like the biggest one when it comes to demos of games that didn't come out.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Playing another puzzle game on my phone called Konami Puzzle Challenge Collection, something like that. And it was a game released by Konami in 2018, which is kind of crazy.
They make games still?
Well, yeah, this is more like, I don't know, like a Sunday crossword. It's Picross. You know what that is.
I was going to say you're a big Picross fan, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Which, if you're not aware of what Picross is, it's kind of like Sudoku, logic puzzles, fill in blocks. But the cool thing is all Konami music tied to, a character or something in the game. And when you're done, you get a picture of something Konami related, and some of them are extremely dumb, and I love it.
Dumb
like
how?
Like the raw meat from Adventures of Bayou Billy.
Are those the things you've been sending me?
Yeah.
Like dude, those are awesome. I was wondering where... Yeah, the nuts and milk one I laughed so hard at. That's great.
Yeah. There was a couple Challenger ones in there. I'm like, wow. Like that game we played that one time. There's some deep cuts in there.
Oh, shit. Sure. Yeah, I forgot about that. We live streamed the heck out of that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was wondering where you were getting those. That's great. And this is free?
Yep. There's some ads in it. Like, you're playing this puzzle game for classic Konami characters. Why wouldn't you want to check out the mobile version of Pro Evolution Soccer?
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense. I love Evolution and soccer, so.
Yeah. Seems like a weird weird outlet to like advertise those games, but it's free, so
Nice.
plus it's like one of the few games that I have my music on while playing because it's got Konami or Gradius and all that music in there.
Yeah, some classics, right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
So speaking of classics, I got real pissed off last time at Walmart about my arcade 1-up order and swore that I would never purchase it because I was so pissed off at them. And then about 5 days later, we went to Walmart to go shopping, and I walked through the electronics aisle, and there it was sitting in the box. My wife was like, "Isn't that the thing you wanted?" I was like, "Yeah, it is. It is the thing I wanted." So you're gonna get it? I'm like, "No." And then she said, "Well, that was gonna be your Christmas gift." I was like, "I know. I'm gonna get it." So I bought it, and
you didn't even make everybody walk out to the car. And you're like, "You go out to the car. I'll be right back."
I'm like, "I'm throwing this thing in right now." I threw the kids out of the cart. I'm like, "No, you're walking. Daddy's getting a game," and I bought it. I did. I gotta say I'm pretty happy with it. $2.99. All of them are. There's like 4 of them sold at Walmart. The build quality is good. Assembly was less than 40 minutes. The artwork and controllers, all of it is very nice. Yeah, I mean, it's what I expected. I will say there's some weird things with the Rampage setup. So obviously the Rampage one is a little bit unique that it's got 3 controllers set up versus a 2 or 1, depending on like if you got the Asteroids cab. So with that, you can play Rampage 3 players, which has been really fun with my 2 kids. The 3 of us getting around it. Gauntlet was another one I was super excited about. I was like, well, okay, you can't play all 4 players, but you've got 3 controllers, so that's cool. Only, for some reason, I can't comprehend, it only allows 2 players on Gauntlet, which is absurd in the fact that it's a 2-button layout. You've got 3 sticks. I guess really, like, the thing is like, it's a small cab, and if you're going to play 3 players like we do with Rampage, it's tight, right? Like, it's very, very tight. So realistically, comfortably, you're playing 2 players on this at any given time anyway. So it's not a huge loss, but like, it's kind of a big oversight when you could have easily had 3 players on there. The thing that like I've really gotten hooked on, and like my favorite game on the collection is Joust. I forgot how good of a game Joust is and how much I liked like the simple arcade action of that. I've been playing a shit ton of Joust. Joust is far and away the best game on this cab as far as I'm concerned. Still holds up, still a great game. A lot of skill, a lot of patience. Rampage is the one we played the most after that. And then we get to Defender, the 4th game on this cabinet. I don't like Defender. I've never been a fan of Defender. Defender on this cabinet is completely and utterly broken. I don't know what they were thinking here. So Defender's got kind of like a unique setup where it's got thrust, fire, switch, which moves you from facing forward to facing backwards, bomb, and warp. So if you do the math on that, that requires 5 buttons, right? So you've got a layout with 3 joysticks, each have 2 buttons, which means that they're using 5 of those. Yes, it is. The thing is Atari 2600 had a playable version of Defender that functioned fine with a joystick and a button. And they decided to map every fucking thing to a button on this thing. It is the most mind-blowingly unplayable version of Defender that I could ever have comprehended. I don't care because I wasn't going to play that anyway. But if you bought this cabinet thinking like, yes, Defender, you were fucked. Like, it is, I don't know why they even put it on here. It is so bad. I'll have to teach you guys like a screen layout of like what they did, but it is, you can adapt to it, but it is not enjoyable. And it blows my mind that it's even on here.
I doubt that there were a lot of people saying, yes, Defender.
But I feel like there are, though, like of that era.
Really?
Like, that was a huge game. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like that was a big thing. I don't like it either, but there are dedicated
Scoon is kind of a rip-off of it. A little bit.
Yes.
So, I mean, I did cave. I'm happy with the build. I think the price is right. You know, I've had a ton of fun with my kids on it. I love the artwork. I mean, obviously the licensed artwork is a piece of it. The simplicity is there. I'm glad I got it.
Definitely worth the price then.
I would say yes. I mean, and I probably have one of the most broken versions. Like, if you're going to realistically complain about things like the Gauntlet 2-player only and Defender being worthless, those are relatively large issues on something like this, but
Yeah.
I still am happy with my purchase. And I think when you think about like the licensed artwork, what they put into it to make it look like the original cab, I'm still going to have tons of fun with it. So yeah, I mean, could I have left without it? Sure. But I don't regret purchasing it. I actually am probably more happy with it than I thought I would be. I thought I guess I thought the build quality would be worse with the joysticks and the buttons, but they're actually really good. So
they're clicky and
yeah, very
nice.
Authentic.
Concave or convex buttons?
Cave. Yep.
Okay.
So, I mean, yeah, I waffled. To be expected. A temptation with it right in front of me. But I'm happy I got it. I wish I hadn't bought it at Walmart still, but I'm happy I have it in my collection. It was the right choice for me and my kids, and like we've been having a good time with it. So
yeah. That was one of my favorite text messages from you.
Yes.
Like,
the picture like 4 days later.
The carts with this arcade and like just you went on a no pun intended rampage.
I did. Yeah.
This whole thing, like I'm done with it. I don't even want it. Walmart's awful. And on top of that, you go to Walmart and you're like, I gotta have it. I'm buying it. Dang it.
Yeah.
I'm glad you sent that before I got the last podcast up, so I could make sure to put on the description that you would never ever buy from Walmart.
I did see that. I dummied that down a little bit for the Twitter. Yes. So I would say to anyone out there who's like hesitant, I would say as long as Defender is not your game, the reason for purchasing this or any other cab, I would say they're worth the money. I haven't played them all. I played the demo one and this one, but I like them. I think you're buying as much, the artwork and the nostalgia factor as you are the game, but happy with it. So
cool,
good.
And now I get something that screams "Wizard needs food" at me. So
great. Gosh, get that wizard some food.
The Wizard and the Warrior, yes. So speaking of wizards and warriors, BlizzCon kind of ties into that.
The last BlizzCon ever.
So they kind of set the stage with, we're not going to talk about Diablo 4. A lot of people thought we're going to talk about Diablo 2 Remastered, which I was all hyped for, especially if it was going to get a console port. There is a new Diablo game, not the one that was ported to the Switch, which I've also heard is good, but Diablo Immortal was announced strictly for mobile, which people are kind of pissed about. But to be honest, like, I think if you're going to boil down Diablo to its roots, that's kind of the right platform for it. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, you can do the same basic game in it, right?
Yeah.
Like the loop is right in a mobile phone. But yeah, people are pissed about it.
I think they were very much expecting a sequel to Diablo 3 at this point, which I think we all want. But Diablo doesn't really, or not Diablo, but Blizzard doesn't really work in a way that makes sense to core audiences. Like, they don't really deliver when you want them to. I mean, it comes, but it takes a while.
Yeah. I guess I'm just surprised that they chose that point in time to announce that. Like, they had to have known that you're in a room of people that have the, $2,000 PCs in their house to play Blizzard games, and they've played them for decades, and then say, here's a phone game, like, it's just the wrong crowd. It's not a bad game, it's just the wrong crowd.
Well, I think the thing is there's still like this massive dedicated audience for Diablo 3 on PC. Overwatch, well, not what it was, is still huge, especially on PC. Plus, World of Warcraft just got an expansion. The numbers aren't where they've been historically, but it's still bringing in tons of cash. So I don't know, like Blizzard is like in a big rush, which is unfortunate for people who are wanting that, because I was really expecting them to announce a sequel to Diablo 3 and that the emphasis would have been on console versus PC development this time around, because I feel like Diablo 3 didn't find its legs until it hit console, which was like 2 years after really it was like out on the PC, but I don't know. We're also getting World of Warcraft Classic finally. So if you wanted to play the original World of Warcraft,
very excited about that.
Yeah, I jumped online with Justin on like Sunday, and he's like, "What are you doing? You gonna have a gaming PC next summer?" I'm like, maybe." He's like, "Why?" Like Diablo. Or he's like, "WoW Classic." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like, I wasn't like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I like the idea of WoW Classic, but I also don't get excited about the idea of WoW Classic.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done that, right?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like, there's plenty of games like that, especially ones that have grown into something much bigger too, you know?
Yeah, and I'm nostalgic for what WoW Classic brings, because like I got in at Burning Crusade, so like that was essentially like the entry point for a lot of people was that era, but I don't know. I don't know if I really need to go back to that. I think it's one of those things that's like better in my head than it will be actually playing it again.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I do want to pick up Warcraft 3 because they said they're remastering that.
Yes. Yeah, that is awesome. Is it going to be on console too, do you know? Or
I don't know. Because the first one didn't, or the original 3 didn't.
Right.
I don't think.
I just remember like the big standout with 3 was like cross play between like Mac and Windows, which was like unprecedented back then.
Yeah. Plus, I want to put my money back into that Warcraft, so they realize that that's the best Warcraft, and they start making that again.
Maybe I should put in my World of Warcraft 2 on Saturn and download the DLC, and then. Oh wait. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not like a big follower of BlizzCon, but this seemed like one of the most disappointing ones I've had in forever.
Yeah. Yeah. At some point, like, what are you supposed to do, you know?
Right. Maybe don't hold the whole convention when you're a single game dev. I mean, there is E3, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much everything they just announced would have been better than everything we saw from Sony and Microsoft at E3. So they'd have stole the show anyway. Just saying.
Yeah.
Nate, you been playing anything else?
Nothing new lately.
Well,
I am going to jump into some of these PlayStation Network games that I'm kind of behind on. Like stuff from October. I didn't really play anything from October, so I might jump into a couple of those.
Laser League's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Been playing some of that. It's fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of games I'm not familiar with, and like what was it? Was like 2064. Does that sound familiar? I think that was in October.
Oh yeah, I think that's the Vita one. Well, it probably downloads to PS4 too.
Yeah,
I think there was a PS4 one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just quite a few games that I still got to jump into. I'm still recovering from Red Dead. That whole bit and 36 hours of that.
32
straight. Was it 32?
We could have done 36, but somebody had to go home for supper.
Yeah, that was me.
Should we get into that? So,
let's go.
Let's go down there. So, as a podcast, well, we decided we were going to live stream Red Dead Redemption 2 trying to beat the entire story like for as long as I could. I think the goal was like 48 hours maybe, but we didn't make that. So Nate and I started at about 9:30 a.m. on Friday morning, day of release. And then Andy joined us about 7 p.m. that night. And we played the game straight through until about 6 p.m. on Saturday. And it was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
there was
it's amazing.
There were some highs, there were some lows. Unfortunately, the fellas came to find out as I jumped back in the game later this week that we ended that live stream about 90 minutes short of completing the main storyline.
Oh my gosh.
So
it still kills me.
Yeah, wind out of our sails on that. But I don't know, man. That is an ambitious, beautiful masterpiece of a game. Sleep deprivation aside, I kind of love it.
I've never seen a game like that. It's one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen. And even just the details of everything, the simple things like right away at the beginning where you are traversing down a mountain with the horse, and the way the horse is walking and the snow is moving.
And its balls are shrunken up because it's cold.
Exactly. Like, the details are insane. And when I started playing, Ryan reminded me, he was like, just stop and like look up and look around. So, you did the right joystick, and it's like, oh my gosh, look at the details of everything that they do. Even in that snowstorm where, not just around you, but if you look up, you see like the clouds of snow moving through that are so far away from you. It's one of the most beautiful games I've ever played. Definitely really fun, frustrating, not overly difficult. I don't think it was terribly difficult. One thing I did hate was the traveling. That I get why they want you to do it, to kind of explore the whole map. But I would have loved a quick travel. We could have gotten this thing done with a quick travel.
That's one thing that, like, the longer we've been away from it, the more I have shifted my opinion on that. And I look at Horizon Zero Dawn as the prime example. That's a game that maybe a lot of people got really into and like I beat, I finished. I missed 90% of that world because I simply fast traveled from point A to point B the entire time. Yeah. And I think Rockstar blatantly like made it slow, made it like beat you over the head because they created this massive immersive world and they really wanted you to take it all in. And even like on the live stream when I was freaking out about the camp and like having to walk, like that was done with such intent that I can understand why it's frustrating, and I got frustrated at it too, and why people won't like it, but I totally appreciate why they did it. And
we were slightly more irritable.
Right. I was going to say, we hadn't slept at all. But I think like it made a more cohesive, like lifelike world. And I think that's the thing that I take away from it is like, not only the visual detail, the music, like, oh my god, the best soundtrack in a game ever. Like, I don't care. Like, it is so
I agree. 100%.
Perfect. But like, even every ancillary character, every random encounter, like those were all voiced and scripted out 10 times better than they needed to be. And I think if I had been allowed to fast travel through them, I would have, and I would have missed it all. And I really wouldn't have gotten appreciation for like what they actually created here, which is just this set piece of like Western nostalgia in this world that, I mean, you just haven't seen in a game like this, like in an open world game. So I agree. I complained about it too, and I still think it is a issue. But I think when you step back and like look at why it was done, I can justify it more.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there, because I think all the other games have just trained us that that's the way it is, that, you know, you can fast travel and make it easy because it's a game. It's a game where Rockstar is like trying to keep the glue on this world, you know, to keep you in there, to be like, no, this is a real place. This is what would happen if you did this and that. And I mean, as them trying to make a work of art, like you have to commend them for doing that, I guess. You know, it maybe takes more time out of our day, but that was the whole intention of it. And it's tough to judge if having fast travel in there at all times would change the game or not, you know.
Right. It's like it's a tough
now.
call, right? Is it artistic vision or is it padding to make a game longer? Like, you know, I guess it depends on how you look at it. Maybe a little of both.
Yeah. And I think we all agree there is one specific story plot point in here that is 100% padding and completely like unnecessary. That was really frustrating. If that wasn't in there, we would have finished.
Yep. Yeah, it was 3 hours. Like,
it was pointless. It was, it was pointless. It just didn't make any sense. And it didn't even tie into the story very well. It did seem like they were just kind of opting out for more time.
There was no arc to any of the characters there either.
No, it was an essential part of the story. But I think I think I was playing at that point. And once I got there and played a little bit, you guys saw it. I was like, that part was very frustrating for me.
I very much enjoyed eating breakfast while Andy played through that segment. It was well timed.
Andy, you did that whole thing almost. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, a lot of it. Yeah.
One of the highlights for me, I mean, the stream was awesome. It was so much fun to do with you guys, but one of the highlights was Ryan was sleeping and Andy and I are sitting on the couch and I kind of like jolt up because I think I fell asleep, and then Andy's like, I think we were both asleep for like a minute on camera. So if anybody was watching it, it must have been like the 3 a.m. mark or somewhere around there. Two men sitting on a couch just with our heads back. It was so funny. It was fun, and it was cool to see.
Justin jumped in that one time too. He's like, "Well, what the heck happened to Nate? Did Nate go home?" I'm like, "You can't hear him because like you're on the chair and you're like, like he's here. He's just taking a nap."
I needed a power break. The Little Debbie Swiss rolls weren't giving me the enough energy. Like that basement smelled like energy drinks and pizza
and farts.
It smelled so bad. And I think, that 5:30 mark the next day, I was like, I can't do anymore. I can't function. I feel gross and weird and tired and sick. So, it was cool to see people dropping in though. We had some people from kind of all over the globe dropping in, which was kind of fun to say hello.
Yeah, for sure. I think like my favorite part was like the Saturday morning, like 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. like that streak where like I'd kind of gotten my second win. Like Andy was still into it. Like you were up for most of it, Nate, and I'm like had a couple pops, had a couple beers, I ate some more pizza. Nate, everybody's taking like their second pizza break, and like I don't know. And then Andy getting on that whole like opera singer thing where we're like lugging around that carcass and like going into cutscenes.
Yes,
like, that will never get old. Like that memory of just like, oh, and he bit my associate, like just a dead woman over his shoulder, like so good. Like all of that was great.
That was one of the highlights. I loved that, where like our energy kind of came back and we were all just laughing nonstop at that thrower on the back of the horse riding around and blood-stained horse. And and again, that just shows the details that they have of everything and the things that you can do. I mean, you literally can do anything you want in this game. If you want to run into 50 different trees and flip your horse, you can do that.
Like Nate, for Nate, that's just like every other day.
It was.
There's a tree. Let me run my horse and do it.
I'm sure they were.
Nate,
you
the
guys
horse
were
whisperer
thinking it
over
was
here.
intentional, but it was that bad at driving the stupid horse.
Nate struggles with 3D gaming.
I do, but it was so good. It was so good.
It was
Yeah,
good.
it was a lot of fun. I don't think I got like back in a good sleep pattern until like the next Thursday.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I went to bed at like 8 o'clock that night, I think, and slept till 8 the next day, and I was still tired.
It really messed me up. I haven't done that since I've been a kid. So
I know.
Next time we'll pick a shorter game when we do this. So.
Swamp Thing.
Oh god. Be like the 5-minute stream.
Okay, on to the fail bag where we answer 20-year-old questions as if they were addressed to us. We're going to start this week in EGM number 29. Doug is wondering why his Super Nintendo is so slow. He says, I'm curious to know why Nintendo decided to put a slow processor in the Super NES. I would have thought that a lot less effort would have been needed had they based their system around a 8386 or a 6800 series processor. I recently purchased the system and the game UN Squadron. The slowdown in the sprites was terrible. How can they fix what they have?
I mean, you're talking like first wave of games though, right? Isn't a lot of times the problem just the fact that they aren't used to developing for the hardware?
That's definitely part of it, for sure, yeah. They'll definitely get better around that. But I think, from my understanding, is it was a pretty out-of-date processor at that point already. Which kind of blows my mind. I didn't really think about that Nintendo was kind of behind the curve all the time.
Yeah, that's not surprising to even nowadays.
Right.
With just, they push old hardware to the max, like the processors and stuff like that. They've always done that.
Yeah.
But you also have to realize too, like in this generation, there wasn't a formula for that, right? Like Atari had gone on for a decade on the same hardware until Nintendo came in with something more advanced. Like there wasn't a model for what that evolution is, which I think was probably part of it. Plus, I mean, back then, like, manufacturing isn't what it was today, so, like, you had to lock in your chips pretty far in advance to have enough supply to meet demand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think those couple things with the fact that, I mean, there is no internet. Like, it's amazing that this person knew what chipset, like, all this, like, that's got to be, like, 0.000000001% of the population. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah, I guess just in my mind, I didn't think Nintendo usually used older hardware until like the Wii. Like the Wii was the first time I was like, oh, this is the same power as a GameCube, you know? Pretty
64 didn't tip you off?
Not really. I thought, oh, that seemed, I mean, it's probably because Mario 64 looked like something, you know, out of this world at that point. And GoldenEye was pretty cool too. And you know, anything before that, I thought, oh, it must have been pretty cutting edge because Nintendo was better than Atari, obviously. Super Nintendo was, for the most part, better than a Genesis, but when you think about it, it had an extra year or two on the Genesis as well. So,
yeah, I mean, it was technically a powerhouse compared to the Genesis.
Right. But when you put in terms that, it was a couple of years after the Genesis, then maybe they could have had something even more powerful in it, you know?
Yeah, when you look at something like, not that any of us had a look at it back then, but when you look at like the TurboGrafx 16 or PC Engine, what that did with its processor setup compared to the supposedly superior Super Nintendo, I mean, really that
They're
was like an
close.
8-bit system. I mean, it's comparable. So obviously the 16-bit Super was a little bit underwhelming.
Yeah.
It all made up for it though with that sound chip from Sony. That's where the magic was.
Too bad they didn't know Sony was the real treasure there.
Well, they probably could have spit on it before they fucked him over too, so.
If you want to talk about that whole debacle, here's
do.
a question about this guy. His name is Josh from Franklin, Tennessee. He's asking, what's the deal with the CDI? My friend owns one, and I love it.
What?
I think it's just as good, if not better, than the new game systems that will be out this fall. I think that more people would buy it if it had more games and was advertised more.
And if it had a controller that wasn't horrendous.
I love how he says the CDI is better compared to the consoles that aren't even out yet.
Exactly.
And what games is he playing that just wowed him at this point? Like, what standout title is there on the CDI? Boy, I played that Wanda Gamelon. That was fucking amazing.
That is pretty bad. I'm not well versed in CDI, but my takeaway is that there's like not a good game on there.
Yeah, there's
some
not
okay
a
games,
hidden gem.
Yeah.
Like Virtual Encyclopedia is the crowning achievement of that console.
Well, maybe that's what he's into.
I don't know if you guys seen like the video on like, there's a few videos, but like AVGN did one on like the Super Mario World sequel that got canceled.
Oh yeah, that thing's
like,
weird.
That has potential. Like that completed to fruition could have been something notable. Probably not as good as Super Mario World, but comparable.
No.
But I can't think of a single published game that was worth anyone's time. Unless like Myst was Myst on it. Like I could see that being okay.
Yeah.
But then why not just buy a PC?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I just don't know. I don't know the library that well, other than most people say it's not worth anything. So,
well, I mean, I own a copy of Hotel Mario, so I'm definitively the expert on this topic.
You are?
Yep. Fact.
I have a copy of The Firm, a movie with Tom Cruise in it.
I had no idea you were a fellow CDI buff. Yeah. Well, how do you do, Andy? How do you do?
I like that. And
wait, they had a proprietary video format?
I don't know if it's video disc or what the hell. It says CDI on it. It's really weird.
It's just still screenshots of like low-res JPEGs of Kevin Costner with his shirt off.
You have to press a button each time, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, that and UMDs. That's the only way to watch movies.
The only way. Well, let's not forget Game Boy Advance video here. Come on.
Oh, sure. My problem is they edited those too much. You're not getting the authentic experience of SpongeBob.
That's true. When you take out 8 of the 9 frames, it's a little rough.
Yeah. I do appreciate how they just ripped into him and said, no, you're wrong. The CDI sucks.
Well, at least they were honest, because they always like encourage people with Jaguar questions. I'm like, that is so misleading. Stop taking money from Atari.
They probably think that, there's something else wrong with them if they're really into Jaguar that much that they're like, you can't be mean to him.
Yeah. Kid's a little bit special.
Yeah. Bailey from Canada, she says, I'm a gamer girl. And I want to say
A.
Introductions right away. I'm a gamer girl, and I want to say that I completely agree with girls who complain about Barbie video games. In my games, I like heroines tough and independent. I like to see girls standing up for their rights and doing what they believe in. That's why I dropped piano lessons and joined Kung Fu.
And that's
So
why
tough.
and that's why you're going to wait another 15 years for a game to embody your passion.
Yep.
Sorry,
Pretty much.
fact. Fine, you can have Tomb Raider in 95 or whatever it was.
Yeah,
Was that the whole thing? Was like Kung Fu was
Yeah.
the end of it?
Yeah, that was the whole thing. I just love that part because she's like, I do what I believe in. That's why I dropped piano lessons.
Yeah, that didn't tie back into video gaming at all. It's just weird. It like abruptly stops.
Yep. Isn't that Barbie game on NES actually not bad?
No, it's bad.
Oh, okay.
I
It's
mean,
not
I
that
don't want to
bad.
speak
Come
for Nate
on.
because he's completely beaten the game because he's a true gamer.
I have beaten that game
Wow.
probably 2 or 3 times.
Whoa.
Why?
Yeah, because I love Barbie so much.
Why?
And I also have an 8-year-old daughter that likes Barbie. So
You could educate her in better game. You could have been like, let's put this little one back. We'll pull out Mario 3.
no, I actually so Barbie was a game that my sister got. So this was the only game that she ever got on the NES, and she was still fairly young and couldn't like really play through the game. So I ended up jumping in many times, and then I just beat the game. It's an interesting plot twist, just to let you guys know. So, spoiler alert.
Okay. Well, yeah, don't
And it's a
spoil it here.
sad note in your gaming resume also.
It is. Well, I don't know. I'll wear that badge.
The
I'd
5
put-
times.
I'd put that right
the
up
5
there with
times,
Bratz Rock Angels. You know, I will wear them
Yeah.
proudly.
Yep. Andy's with me.
Yep.
He knows.
Yep.
Next to Garfield and everything.
And I'm backing you over with my truck.
Okay, next question.
Before we trigger the beast here.
Alan from Minnesota.
Ooh.
Hey.
We're just reaching back here because in our last episode we talked about this section in this magazine that is like pen pals, and we found it
Oh, gosh.
very creepy.
Disturbing, yes.
Yes, it's
Very.
kids that are 10, 11 years old asking to write to people, and then they give them their full address.
Don't do it.
No. Alan
Don't.
here, he's got some tips for you if you're in that section, or he's got some notes for you. He says, "Hi, my name is Alan. You guys put me in your pen pal connection in November 94 issue. For that, I thank you. I thought I might tell you a few things to pass on to your readers before they consider writing in to become a pen pal. Number 1, no matter how stupid your ad is, a lot of people will respond. Be responsible enough to write everyone back." That's not so bad.
With dick pics.
I wouldn't have made that my number 1, but continue.
Number 2, by giving out your address, you are also a target for chain letters. Oh no.
Say it isn't so. Spam mail?
So far I've gotten 5. If you are superstitious, you're going to be very busy.
That is dumb. That is not
Do you
a thing.
remember chain letters?
5?
Or chain emails? Do you remember those chain emails? Oh my god.
Yes.
And his last one, you'll get some weird people. Write
No
them back.
shit.
They always
Don't
turn
write
out to
them.
be neat people.
Or pedophiles.
They are weird people. Finally, I'd just like to say that being published in your mag was one of the best things to ever happen to me. I used to be a racist person. Then I started writing to lots of different people. I would get to know them for their personality, not their skin or place of origin. For this, I thank you.
Also, maybe don't write into a magazine saying you were racist. Just a little word of advice.
He used
Leave
to-
your address.
He used to be.
Because you sound like a racist, and as Nate pointed out, they now have your address.
Let's get him. Let's spam him.
Let's get those chainmail letters going again.
Well, at least there wasn't like a line about like, and most importantly, the first time
Lie
you're
about your
raped, it
age.
hurts. But after a while, you just become numb to it. So I'm glad it ended where it did, but awful. Terrible idea. I can't believe this was published in magazines. Awful.
Yeah. And then to be like promoted like this, it's crazy.
God, I forgot all about those chainmail things. I don't know if I've ever received one. Did you ever receive like a physical piece of mail?
Yeah, every once in a while.
didn't.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It was mostly from my aunt though.
Oh.
It was from your aunt.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah. The email ones were great because it used to like just reply all, and back then you got the like all those little forward arrows, and you get the ones that are like just incredibly long, and they're just full of those forward arrows.
Kind of reminds me back like in the early days of the internet when like before there was targeted marketing and stuff, like, 2001-ish, 2002, like you had to like not only go onto a website, but you could like throw in your email address for like news updates and like offers and stuff. And I spent like an entire afternoon in my college dorm going to every gay porn website I could find and putting my buddy's email address into there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I waited like 6 months to tell him, which had a great payoff, but the downside is I kind of had to look at a lot of gay porn websites, so I'm not really sure who the final joke was on. But like when I finally told him, he was like, "That was you? I had to change email." But I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, I don't know if that joke was worth it. Like,
No.
I'm scarred for life right now.
Yeah, you can't hardly get away with that anymore.
No.
They can just easily click unsubscribe.
Yeah, every time I went onto Google, there'd be like a targeted marketed ad. My wife would be like, "What's going on with her computer?"
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That's weird. A lot of gay porn. Like, who knows? Internet.
How did they know I wanted big cock right now?
Weird. Must be somebody else's computer.
Well, we have some game ideas.
Ooh, anything as good as That's Not Butter?
We could try. I don't think so, though. David from Mountain View, California. He probably works at Google now. The title of my game is The Lion King. It's about Elvis Presley, who fakes his death and enters the witness protection program. The object of the game is to find and expose Elvis. Of course, you think you see him everywhere, in fast food joints, at department stores, in mobile home parks, being abducted by aliens, etc. But you never do uncover him. Some people are still playing that game.
I feel like at least it's died down in like the last 10 years or so. Nobody really still believes he's alive, right?
No, there are people. There are people.
There's always people out. They're probably the people reading and writing into this magazine.
True.
Actually, I feel like I just saw something about that just a few days ago. Someone claiming, they do that with Tupac all the time down in Cuba.
Oh, yeah.
Totally happens.
And Bigfoot, but that's a discussion for later.
Mm-hmm. Kurt Cobain's in my coat closet.
Make sure you feed him.
He doesn't eat much. The heroin.
Oh my gosh.
I knew you looked like Courtney Love.
Ouch. Might be the worst insult anyone's given me.
Da-don't.
Jesus from Merrillville, Indiana. I got a great idea for an already great game. I want to make Mortal Kombat more realistic. My idea is this apparatus that fits on the back of an arcade machine. Here's how it works. With a needle you bring from home, you tap your vein and hook up your arm to the arcade machine.
Oh my
Wow,
gosh.
nope.
Speaking of heroin.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there might be some sterilization issues here.
Yeah.
Every time
The
your
AIDS
opponent...
epidemic just got real.
It's a Mortal Kombat. Every time your opponent scores a lethal blow, the machine squirts some of your own blood on the screen.
Oh gosh.
And what if the lethal blow is like the other guy pulling the syringe out and blowing air into it, which goes directly into the opponent's veins and like causes cardiac arrest? This is great.
Now here's the
Finish him.
Here's the greatest part. You don't even need any health meters. The first person to pass out loses.
Jeez.
There is some seriously messed up people out there.
I can see that coming to arcades everywhere. Nothing wrong with that idea.
You drop in a quarter, you leave an ambulance.
$10,000 a game. That's not bad.
What if it's
That's
like a blood
awful.
donation drive, though? Instead of the 75 cents for Mortal Kombat, you could just...
United Blood is running drives.
Wow.
That's terrible.
Okay, John from San Jose. My idea for a game is called Monkey Dung Country. I wonder what that one's based off of. Monkey Dung asked his little buddy Mini Dung to watch his prize pile of, well, let me just say that this game should be rated MA-17. I'm not sure what that would be. His
Cocks?
prize pile? Yeah, I don't know.
It's the only thing shaped like bananas that I can think of.
Queen K Rap had her henchmen steal the pile. Now Monkey and Minnie have to go to the Queen ship to get back the smelly collection.
Definitely
Okay,
cocks.
it's dung.
No, it's cocks.
The game takes place in sewers, septic tanks, and seagull aviaries. Okay. One-ups would be prunes and clothespins for your nose. Your main enemies would be seagulls. The bosses include very smelly, the sewer rat, dump drum. Dump drum. I like that name. And the waste container and all those other video game magazine writers.
Huh.
There wasn't a lot of effort into
Sounds
this. It
like-
was like, I played Donkey Kong Country and I like to think about gross poop.
I think this guy went on to work on Conker's Bad Fur Day, to be honest.
Oh yeah, the Great Mighty Pooh. he
Great
is.
mighty poo.
That was... I don't think that one was a winner. That one was...
No, I'm going to take That's My Butter over all of these so far.
Yeah. I think that's gonna win this episode as well. I think that's all I have. So, Nate, do you have a better game idea?
No, not anything that's going to top that Mortal Kombat.
I don't know what to think about that one. That one was...
I feel kind of gross. It's just nasty.
Bring a needle. I can't believe that. Okay. Bring a needle from home.
There won't be any issues with that. Great idea.
I mean, the Japanese already invented that arcade cabinet where you, like, take a pointed finger and plunge it into an anus on the arcade board to play the game, so... And really, can we top that, plus That's Not Butter? I mean, it's already been done.
Nate, I haven't known you long enough to know if that was a face of I'm very interested in this, or like, so that's very strange.
No, I think he's like, I've never heard of this thing that actually exists in the world. That was
Do they take credit card? No. That was a face of what?
That is a real game. I encourage
That's
you
a
to Google
thing?
search that. It is
I
disturbing.
probably won't.
It's great when you find photos of like Japanese businessmen in suits like plunging this fist into a plastic butt. on an arcade cabinet. It's
And they do it for like their.
That's the control. The control is you have like a hand like this, like a fist with an index finger out, then you jab it into the hole of the plastic anus on the dash of the arcade cabinet, and that's how you control. It's fucked up. Only in Japan. It's a real thing, sadly. This was in public. Children could see it.
Someday they'll make a arcade one-up of that.
Yes.
Sold at Walmart.
I'd pay $5.99 for that cabinet.
It wouldn't surprise me that it'd be at Walmart. So.
Well, that's all I have. So I think we're ready to wrap this up.
All right. Make sure you check us out on Twitter as well as YouTube, and you can find all things Weekend Rental at weekendpodcast.com. And as always, be kind, rewind.
Cocks?
Bananas.
It's the only thing shaped like bananas that I can think of.
Bananas. Wow.